What's up, guys? Welcome into the program. It is a Monday, man. Back at it for another week. Who's excited about that? Boy, we got a lot to talk about, too. We're going to have some fun. Coming up on the program, one of our favorite groups we have on every once in a while, the American Legislative Exchange Council, also known as ALEC. We'll have Jake Morabito on the program as the Director for Communications and Technology Task Force. We have that coming up today. Also, some personal stories from the weekend that'll kind of lead into a fun topic that we have. TikTok being banned nationwide for everybody.
Till broadcast.
The 100+ million Americans that are using the social media app of TikTok. Are you in support of that one? Also, the ongoing latency of adolescence in this nation. Extending adolescence, denying adulthood. Is that okay, and are you supportive of that as well? So, got a lot to talk about, lots to get to on the program to kick off the week. We're going to talk slightly about the AI again, artificial intelligence from the federal level, the wokeness and the creation of a social credit score in the nation. So, with all that being said, hopefully we can talk about all that in the allotted time that we have. Oh, man. What's up, guys? Yeah. What a weekend. What a weekend. Yeah, so here in Kansas, where I'm at, it was 70 degrees this weekend, 60 right now, and then by Wednesday it's going to snow. Come on, man. I hate it. I hate it.
Broadcast.
Driving me nuts, I tell you. Yeah, we're going to have some fun today. Definitely got a lot to talk about. What is the age of being an adult? I don't know. I don't know what the age of being an adult is. It's an interesting concept, isn't it? All right.
30 seconds till broadcast.
If you are hanging out on our social media, which is live now across the board for our video streams, welcome aboard. Like it out, share it out, leave a comment. Let's have some fun. Break those algorithms as we're getting far and wide with our reach, and we love it and appreciate you very, very much. Hang tight. Radio program starting up momentarily.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin transmission.
Fighting for freedom every day.
Republicans right now, the conservatives, which unfortunately, this is what we have to do every time, even after a vote where people are sick and tired of the establishment, they're sick and tired of the squeezy, middle-of-the-road, squishy kind of Republican rhinos, and we vote conservatives in, then we have to fight tooth and nail in D.C. to actually be heard within the Republican Party.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy
Hey,
Hooser.
darn right it is. Welcome into it, man. It's a Monday. Another week ready to rock and roll. We are ready to carpe diem all over this place, baby. That's what we do each and every day, trying to bring some reason, common sense, rationale into the conversation of the ongoing crazy world that we call the US of A or planet Earth, whatever you want to look at. Welcome into the program. Great to have you today, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas, on our flagship radio station, but we are all over the country, multiple radio stations all over the place, TV, live streaming, podcasting, however you watch or listen to the show. We love you to death and appreciate you very, very much. Your Millennial General reporting for duty like we do every single day. Big show lined up today. Holy cow. Jake Morabito, he is with the American Legislative Exchange Council, also known as ALEC, the very controversial organization that helps state legislatures all over the nation promote conservative values. Oh, yes, those guys. We have Jake Morabito. He's the Director of Communications and Technology Task Force with ALEC. He'll be joining us at the bottom of the hour. If you remember, what is it, a week ago or so, we talked about the AI, the executive order from the Biden administration regarding the executive order on artificial intelligence that creates essentially a woke government system on how government funding for certain programs is distributed based on if you had those check marks and how that woke system is going to apply to you. Essentially an automated social credit score that we're mimicking from the country of China. So we'll talk about that at the bottom of the hour. What can states do to kind of build up a barrier and a buffer in between that wokeness at the federal level and what we're doing here on the home front all over the nation? So we'll get to that here in just a little bit. We also have some other issues, a lot of children-related stuff, which I have to say, first and foremost, I want to thank you, the listeners. A few of you donated to a charity that I was working with here in the Kansas area. I know we have a lot of listeners, if I can talk today, outside of the state of Kansas, but I was part of a polar plunge on Saturday. Yeah, I know, beginning of February or beginning of March, but we are in a polar plunge, and the water was nippy for sure. Definitely took the breath away when you first got into it. For those of you that listen to the show know, though, that I am a favor of the cold weather. I enjoy it, and jumping in, my showers every day. I don't even turn the heat on in my showers. It's just nice and cold to get you going for the day. I enjoy that. It's supposed to be healthy for you. So I was, I guess, somewhat used to it. But it still took your breath away when you first jumped into it. And then while everybody ran out as fast as they could, I tried to hang back just a little bit. And then when you get out, the weird fascination is that the air seems so warm when you walk out of it. But I did it as a charity for the Kansas Special Olympics. They were doing their fundraiser. They had done a tour across the state. And here in the Wichita area, where I hail from with our flagship, that's where they were holding their final polar plunge, and had a few individuals that are listeners support and donate and support me and sponsor me in that polar plunge. So thank you. We love you and appreciate you very much. It's done, so you don't need to do it now. If you're just hearing about it, not a big deal. But for those of you that did, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It's awesome, and it goes to a great cause. And we got to shiver a little bit on Saturday to jump into a cold lake, or I call it a pond. It wasn't a lake, it was a pond, but nonetheless, it was still cold, and it was a lot of fun. So we appreciated that very, very much. On a personal front as well, that'll conveniently tie into kind of one of the topics of the day today. I've mentioned this a few different times on the program, but there was a TV show, and I don't remember what network. I think it's ABC. It's broadcast on Hulu, which is where we watch it. But there was a TV show that was talking about parenting. It's called The Parent Test. I don't know if you've been watching it or not, but they had their finale what they had done was they had chose a few different styles of parenting, and they labeled them, which I didn't know you could label styles of parenting, but apparently you do, with a child-led parenting where the children kind of dominate and run the whole thing and the parents are just going along with it to be their best friends, or the really strict parenting, or the free-range parenting, or what they call the new age parenting, or all these different styles of parenting, and they put them to the test to see which type of parenting was the best kind. And I've liked it, but at the same time, it's kind of bothered me in some aspects as well. But the finale was done. They did 10 episodes, and we watched the finale yesterday while we were sitting there trying to enjoy the weekend. And it's been nice because we use Little Voice of Reason, my daughter, who is 8 years old, about to turn 9 in June, which is mind-blowing to me how she's growing up so fast. But we watch it, and the different tests that they do, we like to have a conversation with her about the certain issues, about bullying, or about how you would handle a situation of a stranger knocking at the door, or how you would handle it as a parent, to handle the child if they don't want to do something, kind of pushing them to the limits, whether you force them to do it, whether you let them back out, whether you try to encourage them, how you handle certain situations. And it's neat to watch because it creates a good conversation with your children when they're confronted of what would you do in this situation. And I was curious on who was going to win this one. Because in today's times, we really, especially with my generation, with the millennials, we have a generation that likes to be more friend than parent, which is why we have the participation trophies that my generation, being the millennial, was the first to receive. That we have a lot of parents that kind of let their children do whatever they want, trying to not be as hard on them as what their parents were to them. But how far do you go before you draw that line and say, you still need to be an authoritative figure to your children instead of just letting them run rampant and do anything that they want to do? Well, surprisingly enough, the parent, and by the way, the different styles of parents voted on each different style of parent to see which ones they thought were the best ones. And the one that won at the end of the day was the disciplining parent, who was actually pretty strict on their kid on what they're not and not allowed to do, but at the same time was open enough to talk about the issues, to be close and understand, but yet be that authoritative figure. And I was honestly shocked that the disciplined styled parenting won when we're desperately in need of a little bit of discipline in today's society, are we not? I mean, if we had that, if we had discipline in society today and parents had actually said no once in a while, with actually being able to handle the crazy meltdowns and temper tantrums, if we had parents that could, more parents, not all parents obviously, because a lot of them do it, but if we had more parents like that in society, then maybe, just maybe, we wouldn't have the wild progressive left-wing nuts out there that melted down when Donald Trump became president of the United States because they've never had to deal with a leader of the country that had a different political opinion as them, to the point to where they were burning down Washington, D.C. during Trump's inauguration, or they weren't attacking people with red hats because they called them fascists and Nazis and everything of the sort. We would actually have a little bit more civility in society, learning to respect each other a little bit more. Because I know that if I was a child and I threw a temper tantrum like that, trying to break into a Starbucks or trying to attack somebody on the street for a political difference, my parents would not have tolerated that. I also would not tolerate that from my little girl as well, little voice of reason, because that's just unacceptable. Now, she wouldn't anyways, and I've told this story before. She was, I want to say 2, and I remember we were driving and she was in the back seat. And she was just, it was at that time, she was, I don't know, 1.5 years, 2 years old, where she was babbling and couldn't quite be coherent much of the time, but yet she just loved to talk and and just going on and on. And she said something to me that it sounded like Obama. Now, I try to keep a little bit of politics away from her, but at the same time, this was the guy and the dad that read her Mark Levin books while she was still in the tummy of mommy. So I guess there was that. But I heard her say the word what I thought was Obama. And we were at a stoplight, and I turned back and I looked at her and I said, "Did you just say Obama?" And I'll never forget this. For the first time as a 2-year-old, she rolled her eyes at me and said, "No, Dad, he's a bad man." Now, I couldn't ask for a better daughter there. I love her to death. So I think we're doing something okay, even though we're by no means are we the best parents in any way, shape, or form. But we do our best, as every parent I know tries to do. But sometimes you have to say no. And then you have to show them that it's unacceptable for them to have that meltdown and throwing that absolute temper tantrum, that's not okay in any way, shape, or form. So I applaud the show for voting in the discipline-styled parenting to be the number one best type of parenting and leading by example for the rest of those parents to catch on to and maybe use some of those tips and tricks on still how to be close to your children, but not yet trying to be their friend over being that authoritative figure. The reason I bring this up, because everybody has their own parenting style, and like Andy, who cares, whatever, not a big deal. It's an ABC show. It's a bunch of left-wing loonies. I don't really care. The reason I bring this up, though, is because during the last episode, there was a very interesting comment that was made in a discussion by the quote-unquote family expert and child expert that was on the show by the name of Doc Brown. And one of the issues, the final challenge for the last 3 families that were there, which was the New Age family, the Free Range family, kind of letting them to experience the world on their own with little guidance from the parents because they wanted them to experience it and not shelter them, as they called themselves the recovering helicopter parents, which, good for you. Probably the most annoying family style that I had was the helicopter parenting on there. And then the disciplined. But one of the final challenges the children had was to handle a bullying situation on the playground, where kids started arguing. One student started bullying another student, and the reaction that the child would have either to intervene or to let it happen. And the conversation started regarding self-defense on if you were getting bullied, would you allow your children to fight back? Which, of course, I would raise my hand and say, absolutely, I would let little voice of reason fight back. I want her starting a fight in any way, shape, or form. She better damn well not start a fight. But if a fight comes to her, I'm going to make sure that the other individual is on the ground with a broken nose and that little voice of reason will not be harmed in a bullying situation like that. And that how difficult it is sometimes, you have to stand up for yourself instead of running to a parent or finding an adult and hiding and letting someone else fight that battle for you. Now, with that being said, and most of the parents, by the way, on the TV show raised their hands to that as well. The shocking part, which kind of blew away the quote-unquote child expert at that time, was like, wait a second, you guys allow your children to defend themselves. However, he read off some stat that said the reason there's an increase in school shootings across the nation was because of students that were told and taught that physical violence as a retribution was okay, and therefore that's what's leading the increase in school shootings across the nation. And at that point, I got pretty angry because we know that that's a bunch of malarkey, as Joe Biden would say, and it's a bunch of crap. Because I believe that is not the case in any way, shape, or form. Personally, not being a family expert or a child expert in any way, shape, or form, but having a daughter who's growing up and me trying to evolve as a parent as I go along, personally, the reason that we see school shootings may have to do with some bullying, don't get me wrong. But the fact that the defender trying to defend themselves is not allowed to do so any longer. Show of hands, and obviously being 33, 34 years old, me being a millennial, I didn't get to experience some of these ages, but show of hands for some of the older generation, older than myself, not calling you old, but does anybody remember the times when you were allowed to duke it out in the principal's office to get it out of the way, and then by the end of the day, you were best friends? Or that you were allowed to duke it out on school grounds outside, you bloodied each other up a little bit, and then again, you were pals at the end of the day, because we had to teach the children how to stand up to bullies, is the fact that bullies are not going away anytime in society, whether you're 10 years old or whether you're 30 years old, and the coworker that's trying to get the same raise or promotion as you is going to bully you and try and keep you down and try and keep mentally in your head so that way you can't advance anytime in life. The reason there's shootings is because now when a student tries to defend themselves, they get in just as much trouble as the bully, and therefore they don't feel like they're allowed to defend themselves, making themselves helpless and handicapped, where the only option they have is to tell a parent. That is what's leading, in my opinion, to the school shootings, because you can't get it out. You can't defend yourself. You can't do anything about it, and you feel helpless, and finally you snap and have to take it to another level because you've been pushed to the nth degree. It's not because of the fact that you defend yourself. It's because now the fact that you're not allowed to defend yourself, and they have no other option to turn to in their minds at that time. Just my 2 cents.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason.
Andy Hooser
the
here,
show's
reminding
growing all
you
the time.
not only can you listen to the Voice of Reason on your favorite radio station,
one of the big parts of
but
the
also
program
check out the video of the program on TV and online. We're excited to be working with our partners over at OpsLens to bring the Voice of Reason live every day on their website,
no matter where you may be watching, Facebook,
on the OpsLens
YouTube,
app,
Twitter.
you can
Go
download
ahead
it on
and leave
any
a
of your
comment on the live
smartphones
stream.
or on
Chat
any of
with
the
other
OpsLens
listeners
social
and let me know
media.
your thoughts
It's a
on the
great
topic.
network that broadcasts
Also chat
multiple
with us
shows
on the
promoting
Podbean
truth,
chat room.
reason, and
Just go to
common
our live
sense,
stream of the
reaching
show at
thousands of viewers
podbean.com
every day,
and
all
chat
day
with other
long.
listeners.
Plus, while
You
you're
can
there, you can
also
always
call
watch
into
some of the
the
best
program.
highlights of the
Just
show
download the
during the
Podbean
weekend,
app onto your
or read our
smartphone,
latest
join the
opinion
live
columns
stream,
on
and
topical
call in
issues
through the
of the
app.
day.
This is
Also,
your
if you
show,
want to interact
and we
with
want
me
to hear
during
your
the
thoughts.
program,
So
just
go
leave a
ahead and
comment
join
on
us
their
here on the
social
Voice of
media or
Reason and the
OpsLens
Hooser
app
Media
stream.
Network.
You can always join the live chat
Hey,
rooms,
Mr. Show,
or if it's
don't
easier,
worry
just
about it. You have
email me
plenty
at
of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and
HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com.
be
Again,
entertained
that's
with the Voice of Reason
HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com.
And here's how
This
you
is
can do
your
it.
show, and
First,
we want to hear
become
from
a
you.
Hooserholic by
Why?
going to
Because it's time for you to be your
HooserReason.com
own
and
voice
signing
of
up for the show
reason in your
newsletter
own
to get the
community.
latest on the show,
Looking for
upcoming
more
guests,
reason? Well,
topical
now you can get
discussions,
even
and
more content from the Voice of Reason
Next,
through our
subscribe to the
Patreon
podcast
site.
and
It's
have
your
the show
exclusive membership for being
automatically
the
downloaded
ultimate
to any platform you
Hooserholic.
like to
On our
use.
Patreon, you'll get
You can
additional
subscribe to
interviews
any
and
of your
content
favorite
that we don't get to
platforms
air on the
like iTunes
radio,
and Spotify,
behind-the-scenes
Google
action
Play
from the
and TuneIn,
Hooser Media
or you
Network,
can also
plus
go and
one-on-one video
subscribe
streams where
directly
you
to
can
our
catch up with
Podbean
me,
website.
guests of the show, and
Last,
other great
subscribe to
Voice
the
of Reason
YouTube channel.
supporters.
Just go to
Plus, you can also support the show by
youtube.com/Hooser
checking out our
Reason
gear
and
and
subscribe to
swag.
watch all of
Find
our
the link on our
shows,
website at
videos, and get notified whenever
HooserReason.com.
we're
Again, that's
live. All the links and
HooserReason.com.
info
Become
are
the
at
ultimate Hooserholic.
HooserReason.com.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you,
For a
and we
schedule
want
of
to hear
upcoming
from
guests
you.
on the
Let us know
program,
your thoughts on the
daily
show,
show
maybe a
topics,
guest
or to
we've had
reach
on
out
the
to the
program,
Hooser
or
Media
my
Network,
favorite when you
visit us on
disagree
the
with something
website
that I
at
talk about.
HooserReason.com.
You can email me at
Or for general inquiries, to be a guest on the program,
or send us
or
a
to have
message
Andy
to
a
our
guest on
website
your
at
program, email us at
HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you.
HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com.
So be
Keep
heard
fighting for
and be
freedom
your
with us
own
every day
voice of
right
reason.
here on the
Again,
Voice of
email me
Reason
at
and the Hooser Media Network. Now, back to the
HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com
show.
or find our contact information at HooserReason.com. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network.
Hey, Mr. Show, don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hooserholic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hoosier Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HoosierReason.com.
For a schedule of upcoming guests on the program, daily show topics, or to reach out to the Hoosier Media Network, visit us on the website at HoosierReason.com. Or for general inquiries, to be a guest on the program, or to have Andy a guest on your program, email us at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Keep fighting for freedom with us every day right here on the Voice of Reason and the Hoosier Media Network. Now, back to the show.
Fighting for freedom every day. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Reason, common sense, rationale. Welcome back into the program. 24 minutes past the hour. Thanks for hanging out with us today for a Monday, kicking off a brand new week. Interesting conversation for sure. And while everybody may have their different parenting styles, I do find it interesting that the quote-unquote family and childhood experts say that the reason there's an increase in shootings is because parents are teaching their kids they're allowed to fight back against a bully. And I'm sorry, I think that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. If you remember, again, obviously I was not around at that time, but during the 80s or the 70s or the 60s, that when there were bullies around, most of the parents had nothing to do with it, or they allowed their kids to do that fight. In fact, let's go all the way back thousands of years. We actually had teachers during the Greek and Roman times that actually encouraged fighting with the children, because obviously that was a more masculine type of society trying to build warriors. So they intentionally tried to incentivize the children to fight against one another to try and build them up in that sense. Not saying that we should be doing that in any way, shape, or form. Don't say that. Andy Hooser says he wants kids fighting. No, that's not the case in any way, shape, or form. But at the same time, there were not mass murderers at that time either, because they were able to channel that energy. Now we've handicapped at children, unfortunately, where we still have bullying. Guess what? Here's a headline that I think some individuals need to recognize. Here you go. Ready for it? Here's the big headline. Bullying is never, ever, 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 ever going to go away. I know it's a wild concept and it may be triggering for some, but bullying is never going to go away. Now we need to encourage not to bully. We need to teach our children that bullying is wrong. But why is there bullying? Let's go into the psychology behind that. Not being a psychologist myself, just based on observation and people that I talk to. The reason that there's bullying is because maybe a bad family situation. There's a loss in the family, some childhood trauma that they're not dealing with or working through. There's abuse in the family. There's some type of bad living condition or environment. So they're crying out for help. Not justifying it, but there's an explanation for it. And while we can always continue to work to make that better, to limit the amount of bullies, there will always be a bully. Outside of that, there are just going to be those, especially on the boys' side and the masculine side, which, yes, I am using gender affirming nouns here. Again, other side may not like that very much, but I'm using the assumption of genders here during this conversation. There's always going to be that masculine dominance of I have to dominate over the other individual. It is not ultra masculinity. It is not evil. That is just what boys do as they're growing up, trying to test their masculinity. That's why they enjoy sports. That's why they enjoy aggression. That's why they want to go out and play, shoot them up, or want to play some type of game that's roughhousing in some way, shape, or form. We are genetically built to do that. And trying to take that away is not going to make it go away. So there will always be bullies in society. You can never get rid of them. The question is, how are you going to teach your children to handle that bullying situation? Are they going to just take it and ignore it and just put it inward until they snap? Are they going to be taught that they can't do anything about it? They have to go find an adult. And if you teach them that, then how are they going to survive during the adult times when they're being bullied in some way, shape, or form? If they always have to go to somebody else, then they're going to turn into the, again, don't want to do the assumptions here on the names, but I guess the Nancy, where they always have to call law enforcement for everything their neighbor's doing or somebody else is doing because it's very triggering and emotional for them. Or do you teach them to be strong and independent and stand up for themselves? And right now in society, they're not allowed to stand up for themselves because they say that the one defending themselves that fights back is now going to be suspended or in just as much trouble as the one that's actually doing the bullying. leaving them with the feeling that they're not allowed to do anything in their power. They have no control over their lives. And having no control over your life is a very dangerous situation, because that's what leads to depression. That's what leads to mental health issues, when you have no control over any aspect of your life. And that's when you see a mental health issue that leads to a shooting potential scenario or situation from a child that's finally snapped because they can't handle it any longer. School shootings never happened in the 50s, 60s, and 70s and 80s, when you were allowed to carry guns and you were allowed to actually fight back against a bully who was bullying you and hitting you. Now, all of a sudden, the aggression of actually fighting back is leading to school shootings. I have a really hard time grasping that concept. Some expert, this guy says he is, on families and children.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government, censorship, and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch the Voice of Reason, along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates. From holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with the Voice of Reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services, including helping you set up your own podcast. Become your own Voice of Reason and bring your expertise to any fun issue or topic. For information on all of our shows, links to podcasts, each show website or social media link, or to find out about everything we do to challenge the mainstream establishment, visit our website at HooserMedia.com. Again, that's HooserMedia.com, the future of media. Welcome to the Hooser Media Network. It's been a long time coming, and now it's growing bigger and better than we ever imagined. The Hooser Media Network is so much more than just the Voice of Reason. It's a network for you as a listener and you as a podcaster. It's a network for any kind of talk on any kind of topic, bringing podcasters together to give you a new way to think about the world. And it's any type of show from entertainment to educational. Check out all of our great programs, like Dr. Devin Verana with If They Knew.
Yeah, and it gives you tangible tools. I mean, I'm sure she just mentioned that some people might be mad at the government. I just can't imagine.
No.
I think there's a little bit of anger in the world these days, but I was listening to Wayne Dyer this morning, and he said, if you grab an orange and you squeeze it, what comes out? Juice. What kind of juice? Orange juice every time, right? It's not going to be apple juice. It's never going to be mango juice. It's always going to be orange juice. So whatever is in us is going to come out when we're squeezed. And so I'm sure you're learning that, like, taking yourself through this process continually just adds more and more power, more and more depth of compassion and joy and freedom and all those good feeling things, because you're clearing that space out.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. Now take people, so for anybody listening out there that might have an object of anger, whether it's somebody or something or, you know, objects out in the world these days, take us into some tactical, practical things that they can do. Number one, I'm sure, is to come see you, but what are some other things?
So I skipped that one on purpose when I was going through this, but the first book that changed my life, and I listened to it before I signed up for the, I listened to her 1 hour Zoom before I signed up for the class. She was interviewing a man who told us about a book called The Four Agreements. And so then when you get into the class, we study the book called Forgive for Good by Fred Luskin. And we went through a process by Michael Brown called The Presence Process. These are all 3 books. And I hate to be this honest, but let me be this honest. You can read those 3 books and know everything I'm going to teach you. But like any good class, I mean, just because I signed up for a class in college, I buy the books. You really need someone to guide you through them.
That, plus tune into Spiritual Smorgasbord with Desiree and Cheyenne.
It is, and we talked about that because then, of course, other things started to happen after that. Of course, that was not my last doctor's visit by no means. However, you know, we talked about it, and I thought, you know, our ancestors were so smart. They know, like, whatever ails us, there's a cure for on this planet. We're just not smart enough to know how to use it, but our ancestors were. We need to get back to that. Modern medicine, basically what that is it is what you get from the plant, the healing benefit, just on steroids with side effects.
Yes.
And so a lot of people, modern medicine is considered sexy. It's fast resolving. It's instant gratification. But, and so like plant-based formula, the raw, natural plant-based formula is what is going to work. It's going to be great. It just takes a while. And people want that instant gratification.
Oh, yes.
So a lot of people try
It's been marketed
something.
to them that way too.
It
They're like,
has.
oh, that's the old way. It's going to take you forever. But if you just take this, you wake up tomorrow and you can have whatever you want.
Exactly.
You can do whatever you want.
But at what cost?
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
My leg is broken, but have some Oxycontin.
Yes.
You know, it's like,
Right.
dude, your leg is still severely broken. You just can't feel anything.
yeah. And it's like, so let's go to nature. Let's see.
Yeah.
You know what? There's pain relievers in nature. Marijuana is a great pain reliever.
Yes.
For one. I mean, you know, just
Mentally and physically.
Yes. Well, I mean, you know, but there's other remedies out there. And everything that ails us, there's a cure for on this planet.
This whole room smells like peppermint.
We're all getting cured.
We're all
now.
getting cured right now. It's a beautiful essential oil I bought from a local, I guess you could say apothecary shelf, but I'm getting healed right now.
Yes, exactly. It is. And it's all around us. We just need to know how to look for it. And I'm sorry, but that's kind of what we were discussing. And that kind of was what started this this whole journey. And what I'm very fortunate that, you know, my spouse and I are together on this. It's not just one of us having a spiritual journey. It's that we're doing this together.
Listen to those shows and so much more on our website, where you can find live streaming, links to the podcast, links to social media, more content, and so much more. It's all online at HooserMedia.com.
When Reason Meets Radio. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Welcome back into it. Fascinating conversation we've had throughout the program so far. We'll continue that here in just a little bit. The next question really is, I think, is the extension of adolescence for our youth of America. There's a piece of legislation here in the state of Kansas that unfortunately passed, even with our Republican majority in the House. Other states doing this as well across the nation, trying to comply with the federal, which I understand why, because they're so scared of losing federal money. Oh, if we don't do this, then we're going to lose federal money if we don't comply with the federal government, which I say, I don't really care if we lose federal money. Let's be a little bit more independent at a statewide level. Nonetheless, the move was to raise the age to sell tobacco products to the age of 21 as opposed to the age of 18. There are a lot of issues with that. I strongly oppose such stupid legislation like that. And the big question is when do we actually consider an individual to be an adult from an adolescent? If you can vote, if you can sign up for the military, if you can go off on your own and actually live on your own at the age of 18, then why in the world would you not have the right to buy tobacco products? Not that I want you to buy tobacco products, but why would you not have the right to do that, let alone even drink alcohol, let alone even rent a car or whatever else? You could get a credit card and actually start debt at the age of 18, but yet you can't apparently smoke. I think that is the dumbest thing, and I get it because the federal level says that they want it at 21, so now states are trying to comply, or else you could lose up to $1 million in grants and blah, 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 blah. I don't really care. I don't really care. So as we talk about security of our children, as we talk about how we handle certain situations and setting them up for adulthood, which I got some of the best advice as a parent from a parent before, saying that you're not there to raise your children, you're there to prepare them to be adults. You don't want them to be children their entire lives. And I think in this nanny bubble-wrapped helicopter parenting society that we have, not just as the parents themselves, but as government overall as well, that we've created that to where they don't know how to handle these situations on their own, hence leading to the mental health issues and the mass shootings that we see all over the nation as well. That coming from the opinion of a non-psychologist in any way, shape, or form. The next question is, though, is where do they get their information on how to live their daily life? Which I find interesting as well, as we see a piece of legislation at the federal level to ban the social media of TikTok and the other foreign-based social media sites from the near 100 million users of TikTok in the United States. Kind of an interesting conversation. That kind of ties in with what we're doing here for our What's Trending story of the day.
What's trending today?
Which I'm excited to have back on the program from the American Legislative Exchange Council, also known as ALEC, very controversial organization trying to help those state legislators push conservative values. What a horrible thing that they do. I love these guys. He's the Director of Communications and Technology Task Force. Excited to have back on the program with us here, Mr. Jake Morabito. Jake, how are you, brother?
I'm doing well, Andy. Thanks again for having me back on to chat about ChatGPT.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. So we've talked about the the executive order that the Biden administration has signed regarding woke AI and how it's going to be essentially creating this ridiculous government automated social credit score for Americans based on the wokeness of the boxes that you check for the government programs that you could potentially receive with this artificial intelligence. It's going to run a lot of our finances in different groups at the federal level. This is taking government utopia to an entirely new level here, isn't it?
So it's a great example of when I was previously on your program a few months ago, I explained a little bit of what Europe was doing to really clamp down on American technology companies and really implement these new onerous regulations. And I think this is just another example of governments going into a new technology, regulating way too soon. And what you're really going to see is a lot of the positive benefits of this technology are going to be erased because we reacted too quickly and didn't fully understand how this technology will weave in with our society.
Let's talk about, before we get into the scary parts of it, let's talk about the benefits. Why are we pushing this, and what would be the benefit? Because I don't even know that I personally, being the limited government, getting, just leave me the hell alone mindset, I don't even know what the benefits are here.
Sure. I mean, this technology, you've seen it yourself. I'm sure many of your listeners have interacted with the ChatGPT program itself and other artificial intelligence. It's really resonated with the public because you can give it a query, it'll respond in plain English with, a great answer, or like people have highlighted in education, it can create an essay for you or other things like that. But I think now that kind of that initial hype has settled down, I think it is going to be really interesting to focus on the business applications of this. Like, how will enterprises in the United States be able to help their customers better by using this? I could think of some great use cases. For instance, we had this big airline disruptions over the winter, and people probably waiting hours and hours in phone trees trying to get their refunds or get rescheduled. Imagine if you had a system like ChatGPT that was intelligent enough to automatically reroute your request and get you on the right flight. And like you can tell that that's what they're trying to do, but we're inching closer and closer to that positive reality. And I think there are so many other use cases we haven't even dreamed of yet. And again, while we're kind of in this test bed environment, regulators and lawmakers, especially at the state level, need to be careful that they aren't interfering too soon. And ALEC really wants to hone in to let the free market do its will.
Yeah, you're right. The technology is going to be there, and it's going to grow, and obviously it's not going away in any way, shape, or form. We have, I don't want to trigger anybody's phones here, but we have Siri. Now we have the new Bing thing, which is going to be this really intense AI that's going to answer any questions for you, is that on the market now? I know that was coming out here relatively soon, wasn't it?
I keep getting things on my computer. I think it's in some sort of a beta test. Again, that was kind of what led OpenAI, the developers of ChatGPT. It was almost like a soft launch of the software, and it's still being worked on. Any of your listeners can go onto their website to read more about exactly how the research is going. And in that sense, I actually think it's good that ChatGPT itself is being hashed out in the open like that. Like, transparency is key to these algorithms. And another positive benefit is you've seen several other tech companies and other smaller competitors want to get it on the game. Google has announced they have a competitor, like you say. Bing is now adopting the technology, and I think that competition is a positive force.
Competition is always a great thing. I fear personally that we're getting... See, I was born in the wrong era, Jake. I like the lack of technology, which unfortunately I'm in the wrong industry for that, working with computers and radio broadcasting equipment. But I'm just ready for a Terminator. I believe like one of the tests that talked about like creating the new virus to end humanity or something. So, we got that going for us. That's our future we get to look forward to, right?
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, there's a lot going there. But let's talk about it from the government's level here. As you mentioned, there's the benefits for the convenience for the consumer. But what's the government actually wanting to use this for? And is there a concern of maybe a hierarchy that it's going to set for government officials and for the private sector in general when the government ends up using this more and more?
So really, what I think the government's role here is to really open the doors to the private sector. And they should really, especially at the state and local level, they should be approaching it from how can we better help you guys develop this technology? Because as I pointed out in my recent piece, which you can go read at alex.org, China and the EU, they're already doing these regulations. The European Union has a new Artificial Intelligence Act that they're hoping to pass. China has recently instituted very onerous policies blocking ChatGPT and similar services that they believe will threaten the CCP's ability to control information. Meanwhile, at the state level, some states like Arizona and Utah in particular, but many others who are good on this, they're good at kind of opening up the doors to innovators and allowing them to experiment with new technologies, break down the regulatory state. And ALEC, again, has a strong history of supporting such free market, limited government policies that really put private sector in the driver's seat here.
Yeah, amen to that. Now, here's the big question with federal government using this and with them kind of dominating a lot of the industry. At the statewide level, like you said, trying to jump on board and trying to get ahead of this thing early on, what is the availability? What is the options that local states are able to do to try and at least put some buffer and barriers in between some of this?
Well, one specific policy that I can share, and again, Arizona and Utah have led on this, is with the concept of something called a regulatory sandbox law. It's essentially some sort of a experimental program that runs through the state attorney general's office, and small businesses or large businesses can apply for essentially like a waiver of certain regulations. As you know, Andy, the regulatory state has ballooned so much that sometimes if you have a great idea, it just is not legal or, is not possible with the current regulations. So you're essentially saying, I have this great idea. Let me test it out in a limited fashion. The attorney general can protect consumers and ensure that they're all taken care of. And then if the experiment is successful, maybe we reevaluate if that law or that onerous regulation is necessary and kind of eliminate unnecessary regulations and bring great new products to the market.
It's all about bringing the great products to the market, like you said, based on the beta trials, based on the fact that the consumers respond to it, because at the end of the day, we want the private consumer to have the demand. That's the beauty of the free market system, isn't it? Is that the business owner, an entrepreneur, an inventor, whatever, finds a product that the consumer wants and then fills some type of void in the free market, not being forced upon us like we're seeing with like EV vehicles and some of that stuff.
That's right. And another piece you mentioned is kind of what people should be doing about this. I think there's especially a role kind of in our communities and, us as parents. I have a newborn at home right now, so I'm starting to think about all this from a kind of a parent level. Like, we all need to be really thinking, hey, this technology is here. How are our children going to be interacting with this? Is it ethical to be using this AI in certain situations? So I think it's more than just the government deciding for us how this technology should be used. We need to, as citizens, and as members of our communities, really examine that and hold each other to account, and especially hold those in power to account as well.
Yeah, amen to that. Jake, we're out of time, my friend. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. It's with ALEC, which you can find at alec.org. It's Jake Morabito, Director of Communications and Technology Task Force. Maybe we can get a grasp on this and try and contain it, or at least control it, or at least understand it a little bit better as we move forward with this technology, and hopefully states can do the same thing as well. Jake, we appreciate it very much, my friend. Let's do it again real soon.
Thanks, Andy.
Hey, always a pleasure. Interesting conversation, man. And it's way above my head because, again, I am so technologically in advance. I have no clue how to battle some of this because, well, by golly, it's a scary thought to me. We'll do some more of that when we come back, wrapping up here on a Monday. Stay right here.
With Andy Hooser.
Andy Hooser here, reminding you not only can you listen to the Voice of Reason on your favorite radio station, but also check out the video of the program on TV and online. We're excited to be working with our partners over at OpsLens to bring the Voice of Reason live every day on their website at opslens.com, on the OpsLens app that you can download on any of your smartphones, or on any of the OpsLens social media. It's a great network that broadcasts multiple shows promoting truth, reason, and common sense, reaching thousands of viewers every day, all day long. Plus, while you're there, you can always watch some of the best highlights of the show during the weekends or read our latest opinion columns on topical issues of the day. Also, if you want to interact with me during the program, just leave a comment on their social media or the OpsLens app stream. You can always join the live chat rooms, or if it's easier, just email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Again, that's HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. This is your show, and we want to hear from you. Why? Because it's time for you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You want some more reason throughout the day? Well, now it's easier than ever to find. Here's what you do. Check out the website at HooserReason.com. There you can find past shows, links to all of our social media, special features, our monthly blogs, and a heck of a lot more. Plus, make sure to check in frequently as we're constantly working to add more goodies that you'll really enjoy. Also, you can always subscribe and follow our social media sites for bonus content, articles that we use on the show, or maybe some additional rants. Yeah, it's all that and so much more. Check it all out at HooserReason.com. Looking for more reason? Well, now you can get even more content from the Voice of Reason through our Patreon site. It's your exclusive membership for being the ultimate Hoosier-holic. On our Patreon, you'll get additional interviews and content that we don't get to air on the radio, behind-the-scenes action from the Hoosier Media Network, plus one-on-one video streams where you can catch up with me, guests of the show, and other great Voice of Reason supporters. Plus, you can also support the show by checking out our gear and swag. Find the link on our website at HooserReason.com. Again, that's HooserReason.com. Become the ultimate Hoosier-holic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. As we continue to grow as a radio and TV program, we're continuously working behind the scenes to try and bring more common sense and reason to more patriotic Americans all over the country. That's why we're super excited to be working with the OpsLens team to bring you the voice of reason every single day. OpsLens is a national online network bringing you incredible content all day from hosts all over the country. And each host brings their own unique experience and expertise to the current events, reaching hundreds of thousands of patriotic Americans daily. Make sure to check out their website at opslens.com. Make sure to download the OpsLens website and follow them on all of these social media sites that you like so you can watch all of their live streaming content, including ours right here with the Voice of Reason. Plus, if you want more of the Voice of Reason, check out our website online at HooserReason.com. There you can listen to the live audio feed of the show every single day. You can read our monthly blog. You can check out our satire infomercials. You can see pictures of what we're doing, upcoming schedule of events, and a heck of a lot more. On the website, you can find our list of radio and TV affiliates in your area. Find our social media links, and while you're there, sign up for our free newsletter. Over the last 2 years, your Voice of Reason newsletter has grown exponentially. It's completely free, and in it we give you your monthly motivation, upcoming civic holidays for the month, a recap from the show from last month, upcoming guests on the program, along with the latest news from our Hoosier Media Network. It's pretty simple. All you got to do is go to the website at HooserReason.com and become the next Hoosier-holic. Finally, follow us on all of our social media sites. With the iron grip control on content from the radical left, unless you follow us, you're not going to be able to see us. It's been an ongoing battle with shadow banning on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, where even our own fans are having a hard time finding our content. But the battle isn't over. We'll continue to bring you the best content we can on as many platforms as possible. You can follow us with the handle at Hoosier Reason. No matter what social media site you like to use, you can find us there. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch.tv, Instagram, TikTok, OurFreedomBook.com, Parler, and of course our website at HooserReason.com. Don't miss it while we give you a heads up on some of the events that I may be attending or speaking at, updates of behind-the-scene projects, or just something sarcastic to try and rile up the left. The battle for freedom is real, and we want to be part of that battle as we want you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Conservative principles happen at the grassroots level, and that's what we're here to help with. And together, you and I can fight back against this virus that's spreading across the nation that is socialist policy, trying to destroy this country. We can bring us back to some constitutional values, some individual sovereignty, and the right for you to be able to make your own choices when you deem necessary for you, your family, and your community. In a world of fake news and information overload, it's time to bring back some reason, common sense, guidance, and a little bit of wisdom. And that's what we're here to do. This is the Voice of Reason.
Fighting for freedom every day. The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Interesting information for sure. Thanks again to Jake Morabito coming on the program from ALEC, alec.org, ALEC.org. If you want to go check those guys out, such great information. I love that organization to death. They are fighting for the conservative values at a statewide level, helping state legislatures all over the nation be able to fight against the federal government, fight back, trying to promote that idea of federalism. Stand-up group. We appreciate them very much. We'll get Jake back on the program again soon as well. Hey, by the way, I want to tell you, as you know, our live video streams hosted with OpsLens, OPSLENS.com. They have their website, their app, they have their social media. We broadcast on there every day, and we love them to death. We have some great numbers with people enjoying, hopefully, the program every day. But they launched a new product or a new opportunity, which I have to say is absolutely amazing. It's called Worldview, OpsLens Worldview. If you go to OpsLens.com, OPSLENS.com, you can see right on the homepage there, it's called Worldview. If you're wanting to stay in the know, as we talk about this AI, we talk about really the government control over the interweb. We no longer have a free internet, a free worldwide web where you can search anything you want to and find the same dorky 10 people across the world that like the same stuff that you do. No longer can you find them because you're shadow banned, you're censored, you're screened, and they only want you to get the information that they want you to get. And that's a cause for concern. So, especially with the mainstream media today and how much they keep from us, the prime example I've been using has been the Ohio train derailment, where the news media outside of the United States has called it our own Chernobyl. With how bad those chemicals were all over the place. The media here, nada. They didn't talk about it at all for 2 weeks. And they're like, well, Donald Trump's going. I guess that the transportation secretary better show up too. And look at that. They're doing investigations on it. But it took them 2 weeks to respond to it. And it was an absolute disaster when the rest of the world's like, yeah, Ohio just had their own Chernobyl. You need to stay in the know. And how can you do that? OpsLens Worldview. All you have to do is when you sign up, you can put in certain keywords of the interests and topics that you want. And you'll get blogs, you'll get news stories, you'll get anything from around the world, not just mainstream media here, but anything around the world with mainstream, with blogs, with websites, with journalists, with investigations and research, anything around the world that's involved in those topics. So you can stay in the know and you can actually have a fair understanding of what's really going on in the world instead of just the nicely fed garbage to you that has a bias to it already and tries to steer you in one direction or not. It's from both sides of the aisle, so it's not like one side only. You get everything with those keywords that you're interested in. And go to OpsLens.com, click on the Worldview there. You can sign up. You get 5 days free for your free trial. And then when you sign up on a monthly basis after that, use the promo code VOR10 for the show, Voice of Reason, VOR10, and you'll get 10% off your monthly subscription on that. It's OpsLens.com. Click on the Worldview and use promo code VOR10 and saying that you heard it here on the Voice of Reason. Get signed up and stay in the know on what the heck's going on in the world, because I'm telling you, it's a scary world out there for sure. Not just, I mean, it's a scary world, I guess, but you need to be defensive on that and be aware of it. But the way the technology is going, again, I'm terrified of artificial intelligence and the way that they're not only going to be force-feeding you certain information and keeping other information away from you, calling you like an evil conspiracy theorist. We haven't heard that before, have we? Only the last 3 years. Between being called a crazy conspiracy theorist to then a Nazi or a domestic terrorist or whatever else they want to call you because you believe a certain way, they're going to force feed you certain information. They're going to hold out and erase other information out there to where you're not even going to know what the truth is any longer because you won't be able to find it. Now they're trying to ban TikTok, which is hilarious. First, they started off with like federal devices for phones, computers, other devices. And then they're like, well, you know what? Now they have a new bill floating around Washington, D.C., wanting to ban any type of foreign-run social media site in the United States with concerns of them gathering information on United States citizens. Which, cool. Okay, I get it. At the same time, can I ask you a question? A really serious question. And it's a good question. And I know it's a good question because I don't have the answer to I almost got through it without laughing. I've heard another host say that before, and I thought it was the most ridiculous thing. So I had to use that joke myself. It's a great question because we have to figure out how to handle this. How in the world does the federal government all of a sudden show and express concern about gathering of information with a social media site like TikTok when they're literally collecting metadata on everything that we do, on our cell phones, on our computers, on our laptops, on our email accounts, on our smart cars now that have the computer chips tracking us, with the ability of apparently new EVs and smart cars to lock themselves down and not be able to drive if you're behind on the repo and the repo man's coming to get you, or any other way for them to control you. Now, all of a sudden, when 100 million American citizens want to use a social media site, they're concerned about privacy issues. Give me a break, man. Talk about hypocrisy. We're back at it again tomorrow for a Tuesday. Dr. Robert Malone joining us here on The Voice of Reason. Until then, be your own voice of reason. Hoosier. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government, censorship, and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch The Voice of Reason along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates. From holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with the Voice of Reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services, including helping you set up your own podcast. Become your own voice of reason and bring your expertise to any fun issue or topic. For information on all of our shows, links to podcasts, each show website or social media link, or to find out about everything we do to challenge the mainstream establishment, visit our website at HooserMedia.com. Again, that's HooserMedia.com, the future of media.
10 Fun